Good evening. Hey, good evening, DC Outdoors. How are you doing? Thanks for dropping in. Yeah, I'm going to wait for maybe a few more people, and then I am going to tell you guys about this hatchet that I bought, and it was quite a surprise. Can you hear me okay, DC? If you guys can hear me okay, let me know. A 5x5. Yeah, I'm just waiting for a few more people to come in. Okay, I'm glad the audio is good. Yeah, let's see here. But what I wanted to talk about is the surprise. Hey, Arkansas Wildman, it's going well. I'm glad to hear that your hand is better. And I'm sure there was a great remedy that you used. But I want to talk about this hatchet that I bought. This is a council pack axe. And look at that bit. Look at that front edge. Look at the top of it. Let's see, let me move it back a little bit. This hatchet gave me quite a surprise. How you doing, Audrey? Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate it. I hope you guys really learned something from me today because I'm talking about a surprise that I got from this hatchet today. Now, when I go into the bush, I always carry a hatchet. This is the hatchet that I usually carry. This is an S-Wing Sportsman hatchet. Now, look at the bit, a very thin bit. Let's look at the top here. Let's look at the back. Now, this hatchet is a one-piece. How you doing, Tamara? Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for that thumbs up. You know what? A lot of people have been having problems with their internet. I had one earlier today. I'm not sure what's going on. But I'm going to compare these two hatchets. This is the Council Pack Axe, wooden handle. This is the S-Wing Sportsman hatchet. Now, as I was saying, I always take this one into the bush with me. If I don't take this hatchet in, then I'm always taking this King Kukri machete. So I have to take a chopping tool into the bush with me. Now, since this hatchet is all metal, I wanted to get something that was lighter. So I ended up ordering the councilman hatchet, the pack axe. I ended up ordering this hatchet. Turns out this hatchet is heavier than the sportsman, East Wing, SS Wing sportsman. This one is heavier. Now, when you put them side by side, you can see that the council hatchet has a longer head. And can you guys see the difference in the profile? The sportsman's hatchet has a thinner profile. This is thinner than the council tool. This is wider. So I went out in a vacant lot today just to use this. I did not do as well as expected because I'm really probably not used to this. But let me tell you what I did learn. This hatchet, S-Wing Sportsman, is for felling trees or chopping trees, busting, going across the grain of a tree. However, I still split wood with this one very well. Okay, Tamara, I understand. You're going to catch the replay, having really strong winds, messing with your internet. Yeah, I understand. But thanks for dropping in anyway. But this hatchet, the head is it's thin here, which means it's going to sink into the wood even deeper because of this thinness. And this hatchet also has a convex grind. If you can think of a football, it's shaped more or less like an oval of a football. So this hatchet is more or less for felling trees. But however, I guess since I am used to it, it split wood very well. So when I was trying to fell a tree with the council hatchet, it did not go as well. And that is because when breaking fibers, this portion is thicker and it has a Scandinavian grind. So when it hit the fibers to cut across the fibers, I got more of a bouncing action. How you doing, Badass Stain? Thanks for dropping in. I appreciate that. But this hatchet seemed to bounce more from the wood when I was trying to chop. How you doing, All-Terrain Coffee and Camping? Yeah, I'm glad you were able to see where it went live. Thank you for the support. Hit the like button and share this live out. Thank you very much. This hatchet bounced a little bit more than I expected. And again, that is because the blade, the head is wider than the head on the S-Wing Sportsman hatchet. Again, look at the profile. You can see this one is thinner. This one is thicker. Another thing is that with this one, I was used to gripping a fuller handle or a larger swell. Whereas on the Council, the curvature is different. The swell is smaller. So I had to more or less put my hand further back. So after coming back home and reading more about the differences of the grind on a hatchet, some hatchets are for all around use, some have specific tasks, and some of them are for certain utilities, but they are all around serve a purpose. So it is learning to split and chop with both hatchets, which I've learned pretty well with the S-Wing Sportsman. Now, what I did, since this is for splitting, I actually did split some wood. Here is some of the wood that I split. Just as practice. So, learning the technique of splitting with a new tool. Once I applied those techniques, it splits very well. I was able to even split some wood and make some kindling. Let me show you the kindling that I made. Some very fine kindling. So this was just more or less, I was practicing and learning how to use a new tool. So yeah, guys, this is the kindling that I used, that I made with the new hatchet. I also split some larger logs, and this is birch. These are the larger logs that I split. There's one more here. So again, I was just practicing and learning to use a new tool. So what I did learn is that all tools perform differently, but the key is whatever tool you have, learn to use it efficiently. And that only comes from practicing. Again, when I ordered this hatchet because I wanted a lighter weight hatchet. This one, since it's all metal, I thought it was too heavy. But again, this hatchet turned out to be heavier than this hatchet. This hatchet has a 1.5 pound head, where this hatchet, it has at least a 2 pound head, a 2 pound head. So this one also in length is 14 inches. It's 14 inches. This hatchet is 13 inches. So 13 inches on this hatchet, 14 inches on this hatchet. But I think overall, this is a pretty decent hatchet. Again, I learned about this from another YouTuber who suggested this. How you doing, my mother Sparks? Thanks for dropping in. I'm glad you were able to drop in. And I'm just talking about the experience that I had with a new hatchet. And this is why I always say on my channel, learn and practice. Now, had I gone out into the bush for the first time and used this hatchet, I probably would have been in for a great surprise. But as I said earlier, I went to a vacant lot and just chopped some wood, getting used to it. And it's going to take some time to get used to this new hatchet. But again, it's a tool that I will have to practice with. I will have to learn with this. But I do like it. I wanted, again, a hatchet with a wooden handle. Now, what I'm going to do with this handle, I'm going to put some linseed oil on it to help protect against the wood. And after I use it, I'm always going to wash this down with some good soapy water and then put a light oil over it just to protect it. But again, the major difference is I was really surprised. A convex grind, Scandinavian grind, a head specifically used for felling, chopping trees, which I've used this more or less for splitting wood. It works wonderfully. This hatchet is designed more so for splitting as opposed to chopping. Nevertheless, I am going to learn to use this one just as efficient as any other hatchet, because I'm going to take this out into the bush this weekend. I am not going to take this one, and I am going to force myself to learn how to do a lot better chopping and splitting. Now, what I've learned is that the more you go out and bushcraft and using your tools, you'll start to use your hatchet for a lot more things rather than using your knife. This is a knife that I do a lot of splitting with, and it's a saber grind. But what I've read is that when you become more efficient in using a hatchet, you will not use your knife as much because, for tougher tasks, why beat your knife, which they're made for that and you can use them for that. But why not use a tool that is much tougher and built for that? So, again, guys, this was really a surprise to me. It is going to take some practice to really become efficient with this. And another thing that I've learned is that, again, I ordered this online, but if you go in person to purchase a hatchet, you want to be aware of the grain. You want grain that goes straight up, and that's going to be stronger. And I also was told that look at the grain at the end of the handle. You want a grain that goes horizontally. The greater that it is horizontal, the better that is. You want to avoid grain that is going. You want to use a grain that is vertical, that is going vertical as opposed to horizontally. So, I've been learning a lot about hatchets lately. I mean, especially within the last. Let me see if I can get rid of this. Let me. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just want to hide this guy. Okay. All right. So, yeah, I wanted to get rid of something that's not necessary. But yeah, guys, you know, tools are so, again, going into the bush, cutting tools are so important. So I always want to take a hatchet, a knife, and a saw. So I am going to be doing a lot of practicing with this. And if you guys have any suggestions, drop them in the chat or the comment sections and let me know. But, one of the reasons that I first purchased a hatchet that is all metal is because I said, I'm not going to have to worry about this head ever becoming loose. But what I learned, this hatchet it's steel, but it's tubular as well, and it can be bent. But that would be, really, you'd have to really abuse it to bend it. And my fear that I had with this, with a wooden handle, is what if I'm in the bush and the handle breaks? Well, if the handle breaks, you can still replace it with another piece of wood in the bush. It's just to be, yeah, I think so. You would have to be very, very strong to bend this. But I guess I would get another piece of wood and insert it. And since I have a knife, I'm sure I can make out with putting another handle in here. But if you use it properly, you're not going to break the handle. If you don't do overstrikes, you won't break the handle on these. But another thing I like about this hatchet is that the head sits even below the handle. If you can see this portion, how it protrudes, and then you have the metal portion in here across the wedge. So I think it's a pretty sturdy hatchet. And like I said, I can't wait to get out in the bush and really use this. I will be forced to use this because I am not going to take what I'm used to. I'm forcing myself to learn a different tool because, again, with everything that is before us, prices going up, shortages, and so forth, I wanted to make sure I had at least two hatchets. I have a 26-inch axe that is made by S-Wing, and it's all metal, which I haven't taken into the bush. I think a 26-inch axe is more or less for a homesteader, but I'm going to take it out there and practice with it anyway. But I'm just excited to get this one and get ready to take this into the bush and really learn how to use it. So use it efficiently. But yeah, there's a big difference in these two. Again, look at the length of the heads, so that explains why this one is heavier. But the face, the edge on both of these, they're the same. They're like 3.5 inches. If you look at, let's see, let me put these together. They have the same, I guess, span. They're 3.5 inches. So that's pretty good. But also, I found out why the bit has a curvature as opposed to a straight edge. That's because when you're splitting wood, a lot of times you're going to use this portion in here, and this portion as well. Where if you're using something that is straight, I'm not sure how that would work, but that's what I understand. But Uh, let's see, it cuts well after its first use. I think that's pretty good for a hatchet. Yeah, I think that's pretty good for a hatchet. Like I said, I haven't sharpened it or anything. I've only used it one time, which was today. But I'm excited to have a new tool to take out into the bush and see how well I will use it. So, how you doing, Matt Shed? Matt Shed? Yeah, greetings from the Erie Coast. Thank you very much. Thank you for dropping in. I really appreciate all you guys' support. But yeah, I'm just glad to get another hatchet. These are like my toys. My tools. These are my toys. But again, much lighter, heavier, all metal. I wanted something lighter, so I purchased something that was with wood, and it turned out to be heavier. It has a larger, um, I guess, head. A chopping edge is larger, so that's why. But again, this was recommended to me by a guy named Dave. He has a channel, Real Big Monkey. If you guys get a chance to check that channel out, do so. He has a lot of good ideas when it comes to chopping. But so, again, what I've learned is that there is a big difference between chopping and splitting. So this split pretty well. This has split pretty well for me as well. But again, this is more of a for felling trees and chopping trees, and this is more or less for splitting. But the only thing I wasn't happy about was the mask that came with it. It's just a rubber mask that goes over it, but this was budget friendly. I'm going to have a mask made. I'm not sure if I'm going to get a kydex mask or a leather mask. Let me know what you guys think. Should it be I don't want to get a nylon mask. This one has a nylon mask, but I really, you know, I'm thinking with the leather, yeah, you have to actually treat it a lot if you want. You don't want it to get shrinkage or anything like that. So that's why I was thinking about going with a kydex mask for this. But you know, but also once I put on leather gloves, the grip was pretty good. It was pretty good. You've bent that metal one before? I like a wooden hand. Really? Yeah, I kind of that's what I heard that you can bend these. So I guess there are cons and pros to each one. And I guess if you are really, really abusive, you can bend this. Yeah, thank you, John Harrison. Thank you for dropping in. Thank you, Maganda, Matt Shad. Um, I've hoped that you guys have learned something from me. Again, it's always about learning and practice. But you know where you really learn? You really learn when you go into the bush. And when I go into the bush, if I get in the bush at 7 o'clock in the morning and I set up my camp by 8 o'clock, well, from 8:30 to probably about an hour before the sun sets, I'm harvesting and processing wood using a hatchet, a knife, and a saw. And what a lot of people see is, yes, you have the dinner, which is fun. You get to see the fire, but there is a lot of work that goes into processing wood. I think the fire itself is more or less like the hub of the camp. You build everything around it, preparing for a fire because you don't want to run out of fuel. So, again, when you build that fire, you're going to use that ferrocerium rod. You're going to have your tinder. You're going to strike that ferrocerium rod, light that tinder. Excuse me, you're going to light that tinder. You're going to have your kindling. You're going to have your fuel. And of course, you're going to have that oxygen. And you're going to build that fire. And you're going to have that cocoa or chocolate or nice warm coffee. You're going to see those nice pretty stars up on the sky. You're going to hear the owls hooting that are close to you. You're going to hear strange things in the wood and learn, that's some acorns falling. You do all of that, but in the background, you're doing a lot of preparing, making sure you have enough wood to take you throughout the night. Because again, I've been in the bush. How you doing? What's it? Morgan, how are you? Yeah, really big monkey. He's really good. He's really good. The sharpness of the hatchet, at least in my opinion, doesn't have to be razor sharp. It depends on the grind. The angle is the most important part. And you know what? That's what I'm learning, because the sharper that is, it becomes not as strong. So with a hatchet, that is what I am learning or have learned. It's the grind that's important. Here again, a convex grind. Here again, a Scandinavian grind. So yeah, I agree with you. I agree. That is so true. But bushcrafting, it is a lot of work, especially when you are by yourself. And so when I'm going to go out and do an overnighter, I really, really have to plan. I really, really do have to plan. Yeah, just wanted to get rid of. Yep. I really, really have to do some planning when I'm going to do an overnighter. And what I've learned, when you do an overnighter, you are really supposed to know where you're going even before you leave your residence. You want to go to a location where there's going to be a lot of wood, hardwood. There's going to be water, a stream or running water. You want to be able to look at the trees and make sure they're not any widow makers. Trees that branches can drop off and hit you. And you want to look at the base of the trees to make sure there's no rotting. You want to stay away from the wildlife. You want to stay away from the game trails. And lastly, you want to try to be cognizant of the wind, because that's going to help determine how you set your shelter up. So one of these, and another thing that I'm going to put a lot of energy and effort into is learning how to read a topo map, a topographical map. I do know how to read one somewhat, but they have contour lines that will show you the hills, how steep they are. The contour lines, when they're very light and closer together, that lets you know that you're going up a steep hill. So it lets you know where the valleys are. So those are things I want to learn how to use and become proficient in reading a compass. I was out this weekend practicing with a compass. So that's something that thank you, Dead Meat. I appreciate that. I see message was okay. Yeah, learning how to use a compass and a topo map is going to be very important, because what I've been using is a GPS system. And what happens if the battery goes down or you're in an area and you don't get a signal? So that has a lot to do with bushcrafting. But, and then again, you're going in there, you're carrying 40, 50 pounds on your back. You don't want to get lost. So that's one reason when they say when you are going to bushcraft. Thank you. How you doing, Indian Hemlock? I appreciate you dropping in. Um, yeah, land navigation course in Okinawa. Topography map was crazy. Lots of up and down. You know what? That's so true because one location that I used to work, we would use a topographical map. At least um, the architect or engineers, they would use that. I was just basically, I was a technician. So I had to deal with those maps sometimes. But you're right, they are crazy. But I think it's important that you learn how to use they call them topos, but it's really a topographic map. Learning how to use those, learning how to use a compass efficiently. And another thing I want to learn is how to use pace beads, ranger beads. I'm just trying to figure out that, if you're with someone, well, really, from what I understand, is that you're supposed to go and measure your steps or do a count of your steps. So every 100 yards, if you have 62 steps or 65 steps, that's 100 yards. You pull down a bead. And when you get all 9 beads pulled down, you have gone 1,000 yards. But I'm thinking, it's like, what happens when you're walking with someone and you don't keep count of that? So it's a lot to do with navigation, your site selection, where you're going to go when you're bushcrafting. But and then when you get there, having the proper tools, again, a chopper, a hatchet, or a large machete are my choppers. Then just a knife. This is a large knife, 10 inches. And then a smaller knife for carving, if I want to make feather sticks and so forth. And then I always carry a, how you doing, John? Learn from your mistakes. That is so true when you go solo bushcrafting. Practice makes perfect. It just takes time and does. And then I also always take just a small little pocket knife. If you want to cut a limb or something really quick, that's what the pocket knife is for. And of course, how you doing, MacBean? Scottish, yep. And I always carry a saw. This is a saw that, says you can cut up to 6 inches, but I've cut up to like 12 inches. But I usually carry like an 18-inch saw that cuts on a push and a pull. But, guys, there is just so much to learn in bushcrafting. I guess bushcrafting, prepping, and survival skills. And I guess that's what really keeps me going, because every time I go out there is something abnormal that happens. You can plan everything down to a T, but there is always something that is going to happen that you didn't plan on. But again, it's a matter of just practicing, learning, and practicing, learning and practicing, and until you feel really, really comfortable going out there, especially going out. Papa's Farm, how you doing? Thanks for dropping in. It's just, I encourage people to go out. Yes, go out with someone, but at some point in time, where you really learn is when you go out on your own. Trying to maintain that fire all night, you're going to have sleep deprivation, because the more coals that you have, the faster that wood burns. And I find myself every 45 minutes to an hour putting more wood onto that fire. How you doing? It's Abundance Life. Thanks for dropping in. Now, managing the fire. Yeah, I can take all the wood that I have and toss it on there and get a blazing fire for 2 hours. But what's going to happen after 2 hours? So what I do, I will put a log on and try to just keep a nice fire going on instead of just having a huge fire. So managing that fire, having a sustainable fire is better than just piling it on. But guys, if you ever get the chance to go out and bushcraft alone, I can assure you, you're going to enjoy that warm fire. It is that crackling, the popping, and when it's about 6 o'clock in the morning, you start to hear the birds chirp. It's really exciting. And I guess a lot of people say, why would you just go out in the woods by yourself and just, what's so exciting about that? It's the experience, it's the challenge, and it's knowing that you can survive and thrive in the bush if you really have to. You know, bringing your food in is great, but at some point you will have to hunt, you will have to fish, and you will have to forage food. Now, one thing I have not done, I'm going to have to learn is foraging food because I'm a vegetarian. But I love to fish, I love to hunt, and we become preppers so that we can help ourselves and we can help other people. So I enjoy giving the venison and the fish to elderly people who really need it. That's why I do it. So it's touching just seeing when I give people that and they're just like, oh, thank you so much, because I know they really need that food. So what is that going to do for me? It's going to make me learn how to forage my food, learning the plant. Rocket of Age USA, thanks for coming in. Chopping axe, next time you go out, you can also use it as a walking stick. You know what? That's true. That's true. Because if I have a 26-inch axe, that is so true. Now, I've heard that some type of way you don't want to hold that blade so that if you fall, you don't want to put your hand there and try to stop that fall. But that's a good idea to take that hatchet out, that axe out there, the 26-inch axe, and use it as a walking stick. Because, another thing as a walking stick is to make a staff, which is about, I guess, 6-7 feet. Just make it pointed where you can use that as a defense tool. That's something I want to do. You can use it as a defense tool. It has a sharpened point, and you can use that as a walking stick as well. Right in Virginia, never knew a vegetarian honey, and it's cool that you give it away. Yeah, I've been a vegetarian for a long time, since about March of '81. I think that's the last time I even had some fish, but I just enjoy the sport. Sometimes I'll go fishing, and I'll start at 7 o'clock in the morning and may not catch a fish until about 5:30. But I'm a firm believer that if there is water, there are fish in there. So it's just knowing how to use the right lure. And I love the bass fishing because I know bass, they hang around the edge. So using the right lure. Now, the thing about it, you're going to lose some lures as well. But the challenge is, can I get this lure up under those limbs, up under those branches? Because I know that's where the bass are, I don't have a boat, so I fish from the bank a lot. Yeah, it's your own personal healing. You're right. It is, John. It really is. 6-foot sticks will break bones. Skulls lot of power. Leverage is everything. I agree. If I was watching this video and the guy had that. It's called a staff, and I think leverage. It has a lot to do with it. But I read that you can use that if you are. I don't see it happening if you're attacked by a pack of coyotes. I've always known coyotes to stay away from you, you know, but I know in my area sometimes we have, wild pigs, feral hogs. It could be used in that instance, but again, carry tools that will take care of that. The only thing is about some of the tools, you don't want to use those tools after a certain hour because you may be getting a visit from the game warden. But I guess you would have to have some explanation to do as to why you use a certain tool that made such a loud noise. But yeah, guys, going into the bush is just being prepared, teaching me how to survive and thrive in the bush in the event I had to. Skills that I need improvement on is navigation, foraging, but I'm just going to take it one step at a time. But master using your tools. I think that's so important. And I'm going to master this hatchet. It's brand new. I went out today, got a quite of a surprise. I thought it was going to perform just like this one. But as someone said earlier, sharpness, it's important, but not as important. What's important is the grind. The grind is important. So, yeah, guys, that's what I wanted to talk about, show you my new tool. Excited about it. Couldn't wait. And again, since I use it, I noticed, I've got some little ruffles here. And I guess that's when I was actually choking up on it with some leather gloves, trying to make some feather sticks. I made some, wasn't so great, but I'm going to actually put a leather wrapping here. And again, I'm going to coat it down with some linseed oil. I'm going to go get some tomorrow. Linseed oil, I'll coat it down really well before I go into the bush this weekend. Because I know it's going to be wet. Where I am right now, everything in the bush is wet. So I'm going to take this one out there, force myself to learn from it and just have fun. So, but guys, that's what I wanted to share with you. I hope that you guys learned something from me. Always want to impart some knowledge into to other creators and YouTubers and into this community. So guys, I appreciate you coming in. I appreciate the thumbs up. I appreciate everyone coming in, showing their support. So I'm not going to hold you any longer. I'm going to drink me some more coffee, put my tools up, get ready for another day, and look forward to the weekend to hit the bush. So with that said, guys, I'm going to see you next time. Again, thank you all for dropping in. I really appreciate your support. I'll see you on the next video. Take care.